Why do people demand less of petrol when the price increases? But these same people, if a new brand of iPhone is launched today, they will demand this phone. Well, stay with me. Change in demand and change in quantity demanded sounds very similar. But in economics, they are two different concepts. One is caused by a change in price, while the other is caused by the change in other factors other than price. Most students confuse between these two concepts. But after today's teaching with the economics and business guru, you will no longer be confused between a change in demand and a change in quantity demanded. Firstly, what is demand? Note that in economics, demand is not the same as to call for, to appeal, or to request. No. Demand in economics simply means the quantity of a commodity, that is goods or services, that an individual is willing and able to purchase at a given period of time. Demand is the quantity of goods or services that an individual is willing and able to purchase at a given price and time. Don't confuse it with request, call for, appeal. No. Now, why are these two very important in the definition of demand? They are important because there are people who are willing to buy something, but they do not have the ability to buy it. John is a 14-year-old boy who is a student in Modern Knowledge School. During break, he sees all his classmates going to the canteen to buy food. He is willing to go to the canteen as well to buy food. But what happens? He does not have money, so he lacks the ability to buy. And if this is the case, there is no demand. While there is someone else who is having the ability, he has money, but he does not like the food that is sold in the canteen. So he is not willing to buy. Therefore, demand cannot take place. That is how you can define demand. Now, let's try to differentiate between change in quantity demanded and change in demand. We are starting to look at graphs. This is a sketch of our graph for today's lesson. Now, note that you always have your price on this axis and you have quantity on this axis. This can be quantity demanded or quantity supply, but today we are talking about demand. Now, this is your demand curve. Your demand curve is sloping downward from left to right. It slopes downward from left to right, indicating that at higher prices, less is demanded, and at lower prices, more is demanded. Let's take an example. Wafer is a food truck restaurant in Busati. They have a special burger which is sold at 3.5 BD. And at this price, the owner, Dr. Jerry, sells 35 burgers every day. With the price of 3.5 BD, Dr. Jerry is able to sell 35 special burgers every day. So, last month, he decided that it is his birthday, so he is given a special offer. He decided to decrease the price to 2.2 BD. What happens to the quantity demanded? The quantity demanded increased to 60 burgers. So, because he reduced the price from 3.5 BD to 2.2 BD, the quantity demanded increased from 35 to 60. You can see that the price is what caused a movement along the same demand curve. Let's consider this to be point A and this to be point B. Now, because there is a decrease in price, it led to an increase in demand. This is what we call extension in demand. Extension in demand. Demand is increasing. It is the same demand curve. Movement. That's why another name for change in quantity demanded is known as movement along the demand curve. But then, if Dr. Jerry had increased his price from 2.2 BD to 3.5 BD, what happens? Quantity demanded will decrease from 60 to 35 and causing the movement to be upward. And this is what we call contraction in demand. What you should note here is that change in quantity demanded is only caused by a change in price. Change in quantity demanded is only caused by a change in price. No other factor can cause a change in quantity demanded. Only a change in price can cause a change in quantity demanded. If you have any question, drop it at the comment section and I will give you a reply. Now, let's look at change in demand. We have a new graph to indicate this. Once again, we have price here, and then we have quantity on this axis. This is our graph to indicate our change in demand. Now, note that we have said change in quantity demanded is only caused by a change in price. But with change in demand, it is caused by other factors other than price. Now, let's take, for example, let's take a popular example. Sneakers. We'll take, for example, Nike, which is one of the brands of sneakers. Now, let's say the price for this Nike sneaker is 25 BD. That is the price for one Nike sneaker, 25 BD. Now, this is our demand here. As always, our demand curve is sloping downward from left to right, indicating that at higher prices, less is demanded, and at lower prices, more is demanded. Now, what happens is that at the price of 25 BD, there is Mr. Aaron. Mr. Aaron doesn't like sneakers because he has never used it before. He's used to buying his sandals or slippers. So what happens is that at this same price, he will not buy these sneakers, which means even though there were 20 people buying these sneakers, now because people like Mr. Aaron and people who think like him do not like, we call this preference or taste. Because they do not like this particular brand of sneakers, it will cause the demand for Nike sneakers to shift to the left, causing the number of people who buy Nike sneakers to reduce from 20 to 10. So in this case, those who are taking exams, please always label your graphs and your curves. So because you are indicating a shift to the left, you will name this D1 to show that your curve has shifted from one point to another, or from point A to point B. This is what we call change in demand. It is also known as a shift in demand because our demand is shifting either to the left or to the right, indicating a decrease or increase in demand. So in this particular case, it is a decrease in demand because these individuals, Mr. Aaron and others, do not like Nike sneakers, so they decided not to buy. The price has not changed. It remains the same. But then the demand has shifted to the left. So this change in demand is caused by what? Taste and preference. It's caused by taste and preference. Now, let's look at a second factor. This area is Manama. And all of a sudden, due to an increase in immigration, there is an increase in population. That is a second factor that can cause a change in demand. If the population increases, it will cause more people to buy these Nike sneakers, shifting the demand to the right, and we are going to have a new demand curve, which is indicating a total number of 40 buyers of these same sneakers. And here you can label your new curve to be DD2, indicating that there is a shift in demand from point A to point C. Other factors that may cause a change in demand may include prices of other goods, expectations, and then we have income. If the number of people who are in this area are high income earners, they have enough income to buy the sneakers. Therefore, this will cause what? A shift to the right. But if their income is low, it will cause a shift to the left. On another perspective, expectations. Let's say we are in the month of November and people expect the price for Nike sneakers to increase in December. What happens? There will be an increase in the demand for sneakers in November. Why? Because people are avoiding to buy at even higher prices in December. So that will cause the demand to increase now in November, because they do not want to buy at higher prices in December. That's what we mean by expectations in future changes in prices. And then we have prices of other goods. Most of these goods, they have either substitutes or complements. Complementary goods are goods that one cannot be used without the other. For example, your phone, you cannot use it with SIM card. If you are buying a phone, you must buy SIM card. Don't say there is eSIM. eSIM is still SIM. So you are still buying a SIM. Now, if you have substitute goods, you can either use this or that. For example, Nike and Adidas are substitutes. If you are not a lover of Nike, then you must love Adidas. If you don't love both, none of the two, then only God knows which village you came from. Now, if there is a substitute situation, what happens? If the price for a substitute increases, nobody will want to go and buy that product. They will switch to buy the close substitute of that product. That is why there is competition in companies like Starbucks, Caribou Coffee, and so on. You know them, those who take coffee. These are substitute companies or products. If you see that the price for one increases, you simply switch to the other. We are equally seeing this competition in terms of substitute prices in telecommunication companies like STC, Bateco, Zain. You can easily switch from one to another when you see that the price for one increases. We equally see this between Samsung and iPhone. But it all depends on what? Taste and preference. This is how you can differentiate between a change in quantity demanded and a change in demand. Now, for you to be able to always recall this concept, always put at the back of your mind that change in quantity demanded is a movement along the demand curve, and it is caused only by a change in price. But a change in demand is a total shift of the demand curve, and it is caused by other factors. Please, if you like this video, don't forget to comment at the comment section, like and subscribe or follow me for more videos. Thank you for watching.